So Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the Adampur airbase spoke of the new normal when it comes to dealing with Pakistan and terror from the Oxbridge of terror. At the Adampur airbase with air warriors, Prime Minister Narendra Modi gave details of hitting terror at source, punishing the state sponsors of terror with precision strikes at crucial Pakistan Air Force bases, including at Nur Khan in Rawalpindi, also at Sargodha, Jacobabad, Rahim Yar Khan in the Punjab province, and of course Bholari in Sindh. And this is truly unprecedented. What should one make of this new normal? Joining me on this India First special broadcast is General Malik, former Chief of Army Staff. General Malik, incidentally, was the Army Chief when India had defeated Pakistan in the 1999 Kargil War. General, welcome on India First.
Thank you, Gaurav. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much, sir. General, after losing to India in Kargil, Pakistan's ISI used terrorists to hijack IC-814 in December 1999. And then we've suffered a wave of terror, a wave after a wave of terror for decades. This is the first time in 2025 that roots of terror were struck, whether at Muridke or at Bahawalpur, at Sialkot, or, the depth and the length of the strikes. What do you make of the decision to hit terror at source, the 9 bases and headquarters of terror that were attacked, sir?
Gaurav, I think Pakistan had forced us to take such an action, a very strong action. We, in fact, changed our strategy on counter-terrorism, starting from the cross-border strike that we did in 2016. And what we call generally the surgical strike. And then again, we took it further when we carried out the strike at Balakot, the terrorist training camp there. So this time they again forced us to take a level higher. And I would say that there has been a shift in our policy, because this time we not only, it was a tri-service action, but also it was a whole of the nation approach, starting with diplomatic and economic target, including suspension of the Indus water treaty, etc. So they had forced us, they had compelled us with the kind of activity that they have been carrying out, and nobody in India was prepared to accept what they did to us in Pahalgam. So I must say that our action was absolutely necessary. It was forced on us, and we took that action as per the order given by the Cabinet Committee of Security. Now, the kinetic part of it, we hit their camps and the strong camps, the heart of their terrorist activities, both at Bahawalpur as well as Muridke, as you said. That was a very daring action which we took. It's a good thing that we did. But the question is, they provoked us further by taking on our military targets and our civilian targets. So once again, with that kind of provocation, we were again forced to take further action. And I would say,
let me for a moment now come to that further action. The
Yeah.
stronger kinetic action that you spoke of. So when Pakistan Army chose to react in defense of terrorist organizations like lashkar-e-taiba and jaish-e-mohammed and Hizbul Mujahideen, and both lashkar-e-taiba and jaish-e-mohammed are UN-designated banned terrorist organizations, India hit multiple Pakistan Air Force bases from Sargodha in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir through Pakistan's Punjab province down to Bholari in Sindh. Could even Pakistan, in your appreciation, sir, have imagined such punitive measures? 11 Pakistan Air Force bases targeted in a single day.
If they did not, it would be a failure of their strategic thinking and military strategy. And now, when we took that action after took those 9 objectives of terrorist objectives, when we took that, thereafter, when they started targeting our military and civil action, now it was quite obvious to the whole world that the kind of nexus that exists between the Pakistani army and their terrorist organization. I mean, that's a close nexus that we have been suffering for such a long time. So that came out in the open now. And again, as I said, they provoked us and we took that action, which was very good. If they were not expecting it, I think they probably, it's a failure of their thinking on such matters.
Okay.
But I must compliment here, Gaurav, I must compliment our forces. The manner in which they have conducted that, both the initial action as well as subsequent action, they deserve full praise. The coordinated activity which we saw for the first time, and I also must compliment. In fact, I would say that whatever credit that the whole nation is taking, it is primarily because of the forces, the way they reacted, the way they acted, and also showcased our superiority in weapon system and in our also the defense, air defense, etc. And therefore, it was something which they asked for, they called for, and therefore, and I think we did very well. The credit also must go to the CCS for giving them freedom of action. You know, I can't take away the credit only from them. I think the Prime Minister and the Cabinet Committee on Security, they gave the forces their freedom of action with the kind of limitations, you know, in such targeting, etc., which is there.
You know, since you speak of limitation of targeting, I want to understand those limitations because Pakistan is a nuclear weapon state. Targeting the Nur Khan airbase or targeting Rawalpindi, the seat of power in Pakistan, targeting Lahore, targeting Sargodha, Jacobabad, Rahim Yar Khan, Bolari, 11 military bases, 9 terror camps, and headquarters, of course, at Murid Ke, 3 radar stations, including the Malik cantonment radar at Karachi. What does that indicate, sir? Was India totally in control of the escalation ladder? And tell us more about the limitations in which India worked for this operation.
You see, you know it that for a very long time, ever since Kargil war, I have been talking about limited war and the grey war doctrine.
Grey zone warfare, yes,
now,
sir.
The fact is that there is plenty of space under the nuclear threshold, and between that and the kind of terrorist activities, a proxy war that we have been fighting for such a long time. And we've made use of that space which is there. And whatever we've done, it is not to start an all-out war, an all-out conventional war, but again, we remain ourselves in the grey war zone as well as maybe in the limited war. So the escalation dominance was with us, and escalation control was with us, and we were still restricting ourselves initially on the terrorist camps, and subsequently when they started and they escalated, well, we took it 1 or 2 notches up, and that's what we have done. We have not crossed the international border. We haven't opened any other ground activities on the border. So we have still remained, the Navy has not opened up. So therefore, we still remain in the conditions of limited war or grey war zone.
Okay. The spokesperson of the Ministry of External Affairs, Ranveer Jaiswal, just a short while back, and he said these massive strikes, the massive strikes that were carried out across Pakistan Air Force bases, the Pakistani DGMO was forced to activate the hotline with India. In fact, the Pakistani High Commission, he said, in Delhi sought a hotline conversation. Then the Pakistanis sought a ceasefire. In your military appreciation, sir, what does this indicate? That on the 9th, the Pakistanis were threatening us. On the 10th, after these precision strikes at multiple locations, almost near simultaneously, within hours, Pakistan sought a ceasefire.
Look, it is the superior combat that we displayed during that period. And that is what forced them to seek the ceasefire. It's a repeat of what happened in Kargil war. I can say that even at that time, it was their DGMO who approached our DGMO first and asked, okay, look, can we meet together and can we sort it out? So this is what they have done again. And they sought the, ultimately, the combat part of it can only cease when the 2 DGMOs talk to each other. And that's what happened. And this time also, like last time, it was the DGMO from the Pakistan side, on behalf of all the military forces that they have, that he spoke to our DGMO and asked for ceasefire. Look, whatever other countries and other diplomats may be taking credit for it, ultimately, I believe, very strongly believe, that it was our superior forces, what they displayed and what the damage that they caused to Pakistan, that is what forced them to seek the ceasefire.
And sir, the targeting of Sargodha, which is one of their most heavily defended air bases, the IAF did so for effect, from a runway to certain other installations, and Jacobabad, where they have their F-16s, the Rafiki Air Base, where they have their drones. Does that indicate that, one, India was under no pressure of their nuclear bogey? Even Sargodha, Nur Khan, Rafiki, Jacobabad, they could be targeted, because the Prime Minister said so in as many words. Has Pakistan's nuclear blackmail been called out for all times? Kargil was a war that was fought, a limited war under the nuclear umbrella. Then, as you very rightly pointed out, sir, the surgical strike, the Balakot airstrike, and now Operation Sindoor. Has Pakistan's nuclear blackmail been exposed completely?
Yes, they have been indulging in nuclear blackmail for a very long time, and very, I would say, casually. No nuclear nation speaks in such irresponsible manner. You heard the kind of statements being made by their political leaders, including their ministers, and sometimes even their Pakistani military leaders also. And so we know and we understand what is the space available between the nuclear threshold and the situation on the ground. And we were keeping that under control, and we were also confident about our escalation dominance. And Pakistan, our Prime Minister quite rightly said that we will not accept this nuclear blackmail again and again, which they have been talking about.
Okay, but will this deter a country that's addicted to terror, a country that has the Oxbridge of terror at Bahawalpur and Murid Ke? You know, that Maulana of terror, Masood Azhar, apparently he's lost a large number of his family members. UN designated and US designated terrorists have been neutralized at Murid Ke, and yet you saw how a number of senior Pakistan army personnel, including the corps commander and several brigade commanders, were present there at the funeral. A wreath was laid on behalf of the President of Pakistan and the Chief of Army Staff of Pakistan. So will that country continue to use Lashkar and Jaish as their strategic weapons against India, in your appreciation?
Yeah, I think that's the most important question today. Look, apart from others, I mean, I have my own understanding of, I do not differentiate between the Pakistani military wearing those khaki uniforms and these other terrorists which are not wearing that uniform, and yet they are part and parcel of the Pakistani military and its strategy. You know, this proxy war strategy in which Pakistani army has been indulging in, it is part and parcel of their both the DNA and the kind of practices that they've been having all along on the ground. So I don't differentiate between these two. And that is how you saw, whatever you said, you correctly, that is how you saw the immediate reaction from the Pakistan army when we had only struck their terrorist camps and terrorist hideouts. So we have to keep that in mind. I'm not too sure whether they will stop it for long. And because that is the only strategy that they have. They cannot indulge in a conventional war against us. So there is nothing else. And the other thing is that these terrorists from Bhavalpur or Murid Ke or elsewhere, they are cheap fodder for them. It's a very, a much less costlier war machine that they have built through these people. So I don't expect that the proxy war strategy in which they have been indulging for decades now, they are going to stop it straight away. Despite all the warning that have been, very strong warning that have been given by our Prime Minister. So we should expect that. But the question now is, what kind of deterrence can we exercise on them. And that is what my question has been, that we may have done a splendid job, but for how long will they remain, will they stay away from this strategy that they have been adopting? And if we had gone a little longer, little stronger, maybe we had continued. I mean, I'm a soldier, I'm sorry, but I have to think of that if we had continued for a day or two more, maybe they would have, the deterrence part would have been more effective as far as we are concerned.
What an interesting thought. And let's carry this forward for a moment, sir. You say that we should have carried on punishing them longer, maybe a day or two. What else could we have achieved? What would have been our end game? Because, you know, when I was a young reporter during Kargil war, you had told me about classification of aim and maintenance of aim in war. So what would have been classification of aim here? If it was punishing terror, that was done. Maintenance of aim, punishing the state sponsors of terror, 13 air bases and radar sites hit. What else could we have done in the next 2 days in your appreciation, sir?
Gaurav, our political aim today is to make them stop indulging in proxy war. And that is the political aim. And whatever military aim, the objective that we are now trying to follow is primarily coming from that we want Pakistan to stop this terrorist activities. And as quite rightly Prime Minister also said, we and anybody else should have zero tolerance as far as terrorism is concerned. And that is the political aim. That is what to be achieved politically. As far as military is concerned, we can cause damage. We can, give them strong warning and hope that they will not indulge in it. But I'm not too sure about Pakistan, because what I have seen over the last so many decades, that, वो कहते हैं ना, कुत्ते की पूंछ सीधी नहीं होती है. So that we have to be careful all the time. I've seen them, even after accepting ceasefire, you know what they have been doing for the last 2 days.
Absolutely.
So therefore,
and even after they accepted ceasefire in Kargil, they were trying operations against us. Even then, as you know better, sir.
So, Gaurav, that is why I am feeling that to make deterrence stronger and to make it last longer, they required some more hammering, particularly when we were having an upper hand and they gave us the opportunity themselves. We did not seek it. They gave us the opportunity. So we should have utilized that opportunity and hit them harder. That is what I believe. And that would have probably made the deterrence a little longer, little stronger, and made them think again.
So let me give you a counterpoint, if you permit, sir. This is the first time that we've hit terror at Muridke and Bahawalpur. This is the first time that we've hit 13 terror bases and military installations, including their air bases, including their fighter jets. I believe they've lost some fighter jets. They've lost several radars, and very crucial radars, whether it's in Pasrur or Malir or, even in Sialkot, which makes them in a way blind to our future actions. I believe they've lost an airborne advanced early warning system. The Pakistan army must have lost tremendous prestige if General Asim Munir, the chief of the army staff, who was talking about hard action and being a hard state, was living in a bunker for several hours when we were bombing Nur Khan, when Rawalpindi and Lahore were under attack. He was, like a rat inside a bunker in Rawalpindi, sir. Now, isn't this imposing costs on them and unaffordable costs on a pauper Pakistan? Because replacing all these military assets would virtually be impossible for them, of course, unless China continues to give them arms for free.
Gaurav, whatever you said, the damage that we have caused them, you are right. You should know it more because you've been following it so closely, and I'm not going to deny that. But I know the mindset of the Pakistan army.
Yes.
And having seen their activities for last so many decades, and I know the mindset of their leaders, army leaders, I still feel that they will not stop this activity we can still expect some action from their side, both in terms of proxy war and maybe even some skirmishes along the line of control or international border. We should expect that. So whether they have been taught the right lesson, that deterrence action, how strong it has been, I believe that we could have made it stronger if this opportunity that they gave us, they indulged in that we should have hit them harder, make them suffer even more, and perhaps that would have kept them away from these activities for a longer period.
Sir, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also said that the Indus Waters Treaty, and governments also made that point once again, even today, that will remain. It will be held in abeyance till Pakistan takes permanent action against India-centric terror or words to that effect. Is that likely to deter Pakistan? Because water of the western rivers, if we were to harness it more effectively, will that deter Pakistan?
Gaurav, it will take a fairly long time to be so effective as we are thinking, or you are talking. You know, it will not be possible for us to stop all the water in the near future. We have to create pondage, we have to create all those dams and the power station that we are talking about. That will take time. So that may take a few years also. So I would say that it's a good step that we have taken, and it's a good warning that we have given them. But how effective it will be and how much of impact it will have on the mindset of the Pakistan army and the Pakistani leadership, that needs to be seen yet.
And sir, the fact that even after the attack...
I'm not talking of the future.
Oh, absolutely, sir. You know, because, for example, even after the attack on Parliament, we were talking to Musharraf. You'd recall how, despite IC-814 hijack and Kargil war, we'd accepted him, a military dictator, as president of Pakistan, gave him a guard of honor, got him to Agra, and then he ran away in the middle of the night. Or after 26/11, we were still engaging with Pakistan, and that Aman ki Asha. Now, when the government says the only conversation with Pakistan will be on the return of Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir and terror. Now, does that very effectively shut out any conversation with Pakistan? You know, like all those conversations that were happening, make Siachen mountain of peace, and there was forward movement on that, and some 4-point agenda for peace. When Pakistan was actually plotting 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks on us, they were talking peace. Is all of that now out of the window, sir?
Look, some kind of communication will continue despite all the statements that have been made in public and the very strong action that we have taken. For example, we have not stopped the DGMO working on their lines, communication lines.
Yes.
Okay, that is still functioning. And similarly, even in the diplomacy, sometime directly and sometime indirectly, that kind of communication continues. And I think that is also a good step. When we are talking of escalation control, those are helpful steps. And we want to maintain both escalation dominance as well as control over this thing. So those are good steps. And I know very strong warning this time I have heard from the Prime Minister. I have not heard him speaking so strongly and so emotionally, so assertively as he has done this time. But again, as I said, knowing the mindset, I still have my doubt if these people are going to stop it. And therefore, we cannot afford to be alert. We have to remain alert, and we have to be prepared to once again give them the same hammering. And that is why I said that the last time when they gave us the opportunity 2 days ago, we should have probably hammered them more. Now, I'm not a warmonger. I'm not interested in harming the public in Pakistan, but their warmonger and the people who have been responsible for all the whatever has happened in India-Pakistan relationship, they need to be sorted out. And that is not only in our interest, that I believe is also in the interest of Pakistan.
Oh, absolutely, sir. I couldn't agree with you more. You're absolutely right. Instead of hitting Pakistan once or one massive barrage that took out, 13 Pakistani military installations and 9 terror camps, we should continue to pound Pakistan, pulverize their military terror network. And that's a very, very valid point that you make. General Malik, as always, for joining me here on this India Today special broadcast. Many thanks.
Thank you, Gaurav.
Thank you, sir.